Hello, welcome to Examining Fictional Heroes and the Authors Behind Them. My name is Wayne Browder. Today, I am going to be reading from the story Black Vulmea's Vengence by Robert E. Howard. That can be found in this volume. The Best of Robert E. Howard, Grim Lands. Black Vulmea was a pirate character of Irish descent developed by Robert E. Howard. As someone in that day and age of Irish descent, he was an enemy of the British. And the issue that I want to discuss with you is forgiveness. I'm going to take two excerpts from this story, one from near the beginning, when Vulmea is captured by a captain named Wentyard, and one from the end of the story. There's a lot of good meat in this story, and I'll probably be hitting it for other things at some future date. But in the meantime, they brought in Black Vulmea between four brawny sailors, his hands manacled before him and a chain on his ankles that was just long enough to allow him to walk without tripping. Blood was clotted in the pirate's thick black hair. His shirt was in tatters, revealing a torso bronzed by the sun and rippling with great muscles. Through the stern windows, he could see the topmasts of the Cockatoo, just sinking out of sight. That close-range broadside had robbed the frigate of a prize. His conquerors were before him, and there was no mercy in their stares. But Vulmea did not seem at all abashed or intimidated. He met the stern eyes of the officers with a level gaze that reflected only a sardonic amusement. Wentyard frowned. He preferred that his captives cringe before him. It made him feel more like justice personified, looking unemotionally down from a great height on the sufferings of the evil. Now I'm flipping toward the back. At this point, Black Vulmea and John Wentyard had gone ashore and found themselves facing a common foe and had to work together to get out of it. There's your ship lying at anchor where we left her. All you've got to do now is hail her for a boat to be sent ashore, and your part of the adventure is over. Wentyard looked at his companion. The Englishman was bruised, scratched by briars, his clothing hanging in tatters. He could hardly have been recognized as the trim captain of the Redoubtable. But the change was not limited to his appearance. It went deeper. He was a different man than the one who had marched his prisoner ashore in quest of a mythical hoard of gems. What of you? I owe you a debt I can never. You owe me nothing, Vulmea broke in. I don't trust you, Wentyard. The other winced. Vulmea did not know that it was the cruelest thing he could have said. He did not mean it as cruelty. He was simply speaking his mind, and it did not occur to him that it would hurt the Englishman. Do you think I could ever harm you now, after this? Exclaimed Wentyard. Pirate or not, I could never. You're grateful and full of the milk of human kindness now, answered Vulmea and laughed hardly. But you might change your mind after you got back on your decks. John Wentyard lost in the jungle is one man. Captain Wentyard aboard his king's warship is another. I swear, began Wentyard desperately, and then stopped, realizing the futility of his protestations. He realized, with an almost physical pain, that a man can never escape the consequences of a wrong, even though the victim may forgive him. His punishment now was an inability to convince Vulmea of his sincerity, and it hurt him far more bitterly than the Irishman could ever realize. But he could not expect Vulmea to trust him, he realized miserably. In that moment, he loathed himself for what he had been, and for the smug, self-sufficient arrogance which had caused him to ruthlessly trample on all who fell outside the charmed circle of his approval. At that moment, there was nothing in the world he desired more than the firm handclasp of the man who had fought and wrought so tremendously for him. But he knew he did not deserve it. So, as Howard said, the change in Wentyard was real, but there was no way he could convince Vulmea that it was. And we face things like that in our lives. Whether intentionally or not, we wrong people as well. Because none of us are perfect. It's not given to any man to be perfect. We do things that are wrong. And sometimes we have to pay the price for doing those things that are wrong. And some people are never able to forgive us for those things that are wrong. And conversely, some people are harder to forgive for us. Possibly because we know them better, maybe. I think that might make it a little more difficult. But it is a necessary function to do that. But if you are on the side as Wentyard of someone who has wronged someone else and you don't forgive that forgiveness, you still have to continue on. There's nothing you can do about that, and nothing you can do to change that. Only the other person can do that. As the saying goes, learn the lesson. You know, don't continue to carry the sin. Learn the lesson. Move on. Guys, I thank you for your time. I appreciate it very much. I hope that you enjoy this, and I hope you all have a good day and a good weekend. Thank you for listening. Goodbye.